Dr. Libby, welcome to my podcast.
Dom, thank you so much for having me join you.
I'm so pleased we made this happen. Just to timestamp it, it's 7:30 on a Tuesday morning when we're doing this.
It is, and I'm happy to be here, even though I walked and my eyes are streaming, so I'm not actually crying to see you. It's a bit chilly out there, but very happy to be here. Thank you.
So because it's 7:30, I've got some breakfast options for us, which are... they're all the Kellogg's range, and I wanted you to rate them from worst to first. So we have Nutrigrain, Fruit Loops, and Sultana Bran.
This is I'm overwhelmed with the potential here. So let's see if there are any redeeming features. Sadly, so much nutrition information these days is marketing, and that's what's on the front of a lot of these boxes. So that would not be my choice. So
what would you, gun to your head, what would you eat and what would you not touch? What would you rather starve than eat?
I just would starve. I would pass on all three.
Really?
Yes. Which is your favourite?
See, this is interesting. So I'm not, I'd consider myself to be, I suppose, reasonably fit and healthy and reasonably in tune with my body. Fruit Loops never. I know that's just confectionery.
Yes.
See, Nutrigrain, I mean, they've always got like an Ironman athlete on the back. It seems like a healthy-ish sort of option.
Will we look at the sugar content? Will we have a look at that? Look at me adjusting. Yeah, so per 100 grams, there's 24 grams of sugar per 100 grams, and the World Health Organisation says it's okay for us to have 6 teaspoons of added sugar. So that's all 6 right there with your brekkie. Okay,
so that's no good. so see, Sultana Bran, if I had this, I'd think I'm doing my body kind of a favour.
Well, we have a look at what's in there. So it kind of masks itself as that. There's actually more sugar in this one than in the Nutrigrain. So in this one, we've got 28.4 grams of sugar per 100 grams. So we've maxed out our sugar for the whole day if we have that to start the day. And that's the trick, isn't it? I think it's partly why there's so much confusion around nutrition, because we kind of get marketed to that things are healthy and food actually isn't healthy. People are or they aren't. Food is nutritious or it isn't. So I go looking at something like that and go, what are the vitamins, the minerals, what are the health benefits, what's the juice that your body's going to get from that so that it can operate at its best level? And that's why breakfast cereal is, I'm not so much of a fan. Eggs for breakfast for me, love them.
Yeah, have you eaten this morning?
I have not, no, not yet.
What would you have on a standard weekday morning?
Eggs on gluten-free toast with a big side of spinach and mushrooms. If avocados are in season, that might go on there as well. I smother olive oil all over my gluten-free toast. Love olive oil.
So what exactly is nutritional biochemistry and why does it matter?
Love that as the opener. So I actually went to uni for 14 years, which I know makes me sound really thick and like I failed everything or went to the pub too much, which may or may not be true. But so I loved learning. I originally studied nutrition and dietetics and then did a PhD in biochemistry. So I combined my 2 degrees into the nutrition part, obviously, and then the biochemistry part. So what that means is every single second there are billions of biochemical reactions going on in our body that create how we feel and function and look. So one biochemical reaction is where, let's say, substance A gets converted into substance B, and then B becomes C, and on that cascade of change goes. So that's operating all the time inside of us. We don't instruct it. But for every reaction, so for A to turn into B, we need nutrients. So let's say you need iron and vitamin C to convert A into B. And if we become insufficient or deficient in either of those nutrients, then those reactions won't work as efficiently. And then we start to get symptoms, but we're not taught to look at our health in that way. So that's what spins my tyres. A great example is, so our thyroid gland needs iron to be able to make hormones, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. You think of iodine as a thyroid nutrient, but iron's really important. So when I used to work with patients one-on-one, I'd be looking at their blood work, looking at blood test results for their iron levels, looking at what their thyroid hormones are doing. And if they were both kind of depleted, if you fix the iron, sometimes people's thyroid function improves. So that's the juice of it. It really spins my tyres.
Oh, it really does. 14 years of study, the same number of books now. 14 books?
Yes.
Yeah, can I? This is a real personal question, and you may not want to answer, and that's fine. And I'm going to be told off in the comments. But can I ask your age?
50.
50.
Yeah.
You look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
The reason I asked that is because I would have if you asked me to guess your age, I would have said somewhere in the 30s. But because you've studied for 14 years and put out so many books, I knew it had to be older than that.
Yeah,
you look great.
Oh, thank you. That's so generous.
Is that a result of like the right nutritional and dietary choices to a degree?
I think that contributes, but I have a really happy heart. I feel so lucky that I get a turn on earth. So I'm not exaggerating when I say I wake up every morning and think it's just such a privilege to be here. And I read a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, and Bronnie Ware's the author of that. And she was a palliative care nurse, and she describes how when she was looking after people who were dying, they would tell you that they're going to miss the most ordinary things. They're going to miss someone's face or the feeling of their dog's fur under their fingertips or the night sky, and we have that now. So I honestly just feel I kind of let myself have what I have, which is, this, even when there's challenges, it's just such a privilege to be here. So I feel like that probably contributes. And so I would say just a happy heart contributes, as well as my food and nutrition, of course. Yeah.
Do you make poor choices?
I don't see it that way. So I eat hot chips, I eat whatever I feel like. It's just that I'm mostly drawn to actual food, not junk. I feel that we've made food really black and white and full of rules, and I worry about that for some people. Some people love rules and structure. For others, that leads them, I guess, down a more concerning kind of path, and they can flip into, say, disordered eating, for example, when they live with a lot of rules and restrictions. So it's... What was the question, sorry?
Do you find it hard, I think, to make the right choices all the time?
So it's what we do every day that impacts on our health. It's not what we do occasionally. And, so I feel like there's a world of difference, for example, between having hot chips 3 times a week every week and having them 10 times a year.
Right.
So,
so would you, if you had to put a ratio on it, you make the right choice like 95% of the time, 99% of the time?
I couldn't even put a number on it because I wrote a cookbook a few years ago, or quite a while ago now, it's probably 10 years ago, and in that I talk about being a flexitarian. So everyone was always, commonly in interviews, people would say to me, how do you eat? And I'd say, it doesn't matter how I eat. Basically, I just eat food and not very much junk. But I'm a flexitarian or a qualitarian, try and eat good quality food, nutritious food.
What about alcohol? What's your relationship with booze?
I couldn't care less about it. Yeah. So I live in Australia at the moment, and I do love a beer at the end of a hot day. But if someone said you can never drink again, I couldn't care less. It doesn't really feature I don't think about it, really.
So if you're having hot chips, you might have a beer, but...
Yeah, or not. Just hot chips on their own is a good time.
You've done so much work, and you're such a massive deal in New Zealand. How many people on the Dr. Libby team?
There are 6 of us at the moment, and they're really beautiful human beings. I look forward to seeing them, and they all look after different parts of the business, whether it's the publishing arm, or we have a supplement company called biochemistry, or there's a lot of online courses, and we create a lot of free articles for my website to support people. So it's they're beautiful humans, love them.
The book writing thing, how do you fit it all in? Or how do you think I'm going to write a book specifically about iron and then come up with 60 to 90,000 words on that subject?
I actually, when I sat to write the iron book, which is my most recent one, I started writing a book about a completely different topic, and I was 65,000 words into that other book when I went, iron is my go, and I'd already written 11,000 words about iron, so I went back and kept going with iron because it's the one thing I think that changes everything for a lot of people when we get that right. But I feel like we look after what we care about, whether that's the environment or our body, but we also, I think, we make time, we prioritise and make time for the things that we care about. And we've all only got 24 hours in a day, so I think we whatever we value, we prioritise, and it's important to me to pull my knowledge is wasted if it just sits with me. I was the only person in my family who went to university, and that's all kind of wasted if it just sits in my brain.
Yeah. Oh, you said, by the way, we're going to get to your background, but you say the only person in your family that went to university, but you're an only child.
Yeah, of my cousins.
Okay.
Like the extended family, I should have clarified.
So your first book was called Accidentally Overweight. This latest book about iron is your 14th book. I'm not going to make you do this, but could you name them all?
Yes.
You could.
Absolutely.
It's like children. If you've got
Pretty
heaps of
much.
kids, you can
Yeah.
And where do you live now? You're on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, in Burleigh Heads. Yeah.
And you love roller skating? You go roller skating in your spare time? I think I read this in an article.
I do. Yeah, I roller skated for sport as a child at high school, and my best friend and I had a ball doing that, and we reinvigorated that for our 50th birthday parties last year. So, yeah, I turned up in roller skates to her 50th and had no idea if I'd still be able to do it. I thought I'll just wear them for 10 minutes and bring her some joy, but no, I could still do it. So I lasted 8 hours in my skates all night.
Do you go all right?
So, these days, I actually do. It's astonishing. I love a big concrete car park to just zoom around. But for my 50th, it was super low key. But while I was in the same town as my besties, they organised they rented an empty concrete warehouse and put laser lights all around it and just told me to show up with my skates. And she created a roller skating rink like we used to have when we were kids for my 50th. I'll never, ever get over it. It was amazing.
My God, that is amazing. Yeah. Are you not scared of like breaking a collarbone or rolling an ankle?
No, I don't think about that. Trust the process.
What's meant to be is meant to
That's
be.
it.
So you spent 7 years living in New Zealand. When were they from and to?
2007 to 2014.
Right. Is that sort of when you became like a big deal here? So you're massive here, eh? Like I'd say it's close to being a household name is what someone can be in NZ. Like you're so loved and respected here.
Oh, that's so generous. Thank you. So I started, I'd been speaking and writing, but that my ex-husband helped me to start a business here and to kind of formalise, I guess, my offering. So, yeah, when I moved here, I was offered some really generous opportunities quite quickly. So a magazine offered for me to start writing, and I used to do a lot of free seminars, free talks, because I loved speaking. And yeah, so that sort of helped people get to know me, I guess. And I try to make health information really common sense, and I think it seemed that it hit a chord. It seemed to hit a mark that there was already a lot of confusion that's only intensified. But yeah, I try to just help people make sense of how to take care of themselves. But beyond that, I try to, I guess, sort of help people to appreciate themselves a bit more, because if we knew who we truly are, I think we would be in awe if we really understood how our actual earth suit operates. And so I try to get people to spend just a little bit more time in touch with that. And so people tell me that comes through in how I communicate. And so I think that's probably why it connected, and I think a common sense kind of approach.
That's so interesting to hear about you doing all the free talks early on. I was listening to a Mel Robbins podcast over the weekend, exactly the same for her. And it's, I suppose in a way it's like sharpening your axe. Yeah,
it is. You practice, and also it's an offering, isn't it? It's if this interests you, come and tune in, and there's no barrier. And then what I found as well down the track, sometimes even just a little expense helps people to lock in a commitment. So certainly when I was seeing patients, I saw some incredibly generous people over the time, and they would say, I've gotten a lot out of this session, so I want to pay for someone else to come along and do this. And the other person would come, but they wouldn't necessarily embrace what was being offered. So sometimes an exchange of money actually helps people to follow through on a commitment, or which, we could dive into the psychology of that, but it's probably not that worthwhile. But so we moved from offering all the free talks to, I think the first one I did was then $5 and $10. So
so we got a little bit of skin in the game.
Yeah, that's it.
I just realised you're on the water, so I'm on a trim milk latte. Is this okay?
Well, I enjoy coffee in the morning, and I think we need to be honest with ourselves really just about how caffeine affects us. So some people, caffeine drives some of your listeners are going to want to block their ears right now. Caffeine drives the production of adrenaline, and adrenaline is the hormone behind anxious feelings. So some people are just generally, they don't really sweat the small stuff So coffee probably just helps their brain focus a bit better for a couple of hours, whereas other people are real worriers. They're already really anxious, and I think caffeine can push them into an uncomfortable place. So it's sort of just noticing how we're affected by it.
Great. Is it I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like having the amount of knowledge you have, like, does it just, I don't know.
I don't think about it. Like, it's just, I don't know, just somehow I've studied it, I've learnt it, but I'm really curious. My patients over the years taught me so much. They're probably, up there. They're my biggest teachers, really, because you really notice what makes a difference for people and what doesn't. And it was where there's 3 pillars to my work: biochemistry, nutrition, and emotions, or mindset, if you like. And that third pillar, my patients really helped me to bring that to life, because at uni, when you study nutrition and dietetics, you're just taught that people will do what you suggest because they're in a consultation, but it's not the case. They might do it for 3 minutes or 3 weeks or maybe 3 months, and it's why the question that arose for me is, why do people do what they do even though they know what they know? It's not a lack of knowledge that would lead a lot of people to polish off a packet of chocolate biscuits after dinner. No one does that thinking, I'm going to feel so fabulous after I do this. They start but they often don't stop and don't understand why. It's usually emotional or mindset, and so diving into that I found incredibly helpful for people to help them make sustained changes.
Yeah, that third one, the emotional one, it's a big one, isn't it? Yeah. Because I can eat pretty well during the day. Like so far today I've had a couple of bagels with avocado on. I'll eat well during the day. Then in the evening I'll be watching TV, and maybe I'll be tired from work, and I'll have a couple of cans of Coke Zero, maybe half a bag of snake lollies.
La 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 la.
Oh, God. Really? Yeah. What do you? That's Coke Zero is probably one of my weaknesses, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
like I love it. I love a couple of cans a day. Is it really bad? It's just fancy water, isn't it?
Not really. Do you sleep? How do you sleep?
Yeah, no, I sleep fine.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. That's great. Well, the caffeine's not disrupting you, so that's remarkable. But there could be some different choices made there that offer you some nutrition, offer the earth suit some benefit.
Okay. Oh, thanks for that. God, this is going to make me question everything I do after this
Well, we
chat.
don't want that.
No.
We don't want that. Just the right amount of mischief. Think of it that way.
Hey, so let's go back to the Dr. Libby early years. So you're from a place called Tamworth?
Tamworth, yeah.
Tamworth. Yeah, where's that? New South Wales?
Country New South Wales, yeah. It's the country music capital of Australia, sister city Gore. My best friend at high school, she became country music queen. She won the prize, and one of her prizes was a trip to Gore. That's how she got her passport. It was.
It's like the worst international travel prize imaginable.
She was so excited. She got to ride a horse down the main street.
Yeah. So it sounds like, from what I can gather, your upbringing was quite idyllic. Like, sort of on like a lifestyle block, chickens in the backyard, educational parents. So if you picked an orange from a tree, they'd be like, they'd explain to you that it's got vitamin C in it, and this is good for your immune system. And
yes, I grew up very simply. It was just a household yard that wasn't a lifestyle block. It was a little piece of land. My dad really is a farmer at heart. He just never ever got to a point where he could buy a farm. So yeah, he just created the housing in the backyard for the chickens, and was always fascinated with soil quality. And he grew some fruit trees and just stock standard things, herbs and vegetables. But yeah, it was just a natural part of the conversation. It wasn't a big feature, but I have really distinct memories of them talking to me about, food. And so I'm sure that's influenced me. But yeah, it was a very simple upbringing. Yeah,
foundational sort of memories in a way, though. I suppose it sort of set the platform. And were you like a daily journal writer, a daily diary writer?
Yes, you're so lovely to raise that. My mum gave me a diary when I was 4, and she just encouraged me to pop something in there each day. And so I wrote down how many eggs I collected from the chickens. They were my very first journal entries. And then occasionally I'd write in there that I ran under the sprinkler with my neighbour. They're some of the early journal entries, so I still have all of those books. But she started that daily writing practice for me, which I think was, it's partly why I write books, because I really love writing.
What about junk food as a kid? Even if you're in a household where your parents are quite, educated when it comes to food? Like there's still kids' birthday parties with fairy bread or Cheerios or whatever?
Oh, yeah, all of that happened.
Yeah.
But when growing up in the 70s, the junk was really only at birthday parties. Junk was expensive, so we didn't have it in the house really. It was probably the most processed food was tomato sauce or so because the junk was expensive, so it wasn't available. I remember being allowed, soft drink was expensive compared to water obviously, and I remember being allowed to have one bottle of soft drink for the school holidays, whereas we have a lot of people have it every day now.
Oh, it's so cheap now. There's a new world just around the corner. You can buy you could get a bottle of pump water or a bottle of Coke, and the Coke's going to be cheaper than the water.
And that's part of the challenge, I think, for so many people, and that's backwards, isn't it?
Yeah. So university, you go to university, you're there for 14 years, first person in your broader family to go there. Why did you decide to go in the direction you did in terms of study?
So I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I didn't have ambition. I just had interests and things I was really curious about. And so I originally started journalism because I knew I wanted to write, then did psychology, but that was a lot of dissecting rats and studying and statistics in the early part of that degree. And then realised that all I really wanted to know about was human health and nutrition and behaviour related to human health. So that's when I started nutrition and dietetics, and I was fizzing from day one with that. So knew that was my place.
Mm. And when did the transition happen? Like when did you start to become like Dr. Libby, the brand? Which is who is? I know that sounds real wanky to say, but you don't even need a last name anymore. It's just Dr. Libby. When did that sort of transition happen? Did you sort of fall into it, or?
Yeah. So, I just started, I guess bringing to life the things that were in my heart and in my brain, and whether that was with talks or books or online courses. So that really started when I finished nutrition and dietetics. I started seeing patients, so really started to observe what made a difference for people. And then I got a job working in a big health retreat at the end of my PhD, and again saw a completely different demographic of the population. It was where stress was becoming a thing then. So if you think back even 20 years ago, about 20 years ago, people really started to talk about stress a lot, whereas prior to that, it wasn't really called that, and that has drawbacks and benefits, I think, that we didn't talk about it so much. But it's that became a big thing, and I got to see the big impact that stress essentially had. So, and what I mean by that is when people were essentially really safe, physically safe, but their bodies, you could see, was getting the message that they weren't safe, and it was coming mostly from thoughts and perceptions. And that led me down a whole other realm with my work, and getting to see how we create a lot of pressure and urgency. We create urgency when it's not needed. So there are times when urgency is needed. Maybe your elderly parent has had a fall and you get a phone call, so you want to get there as quickly as you can. But what I started to see is how we've made a lot of what we do each day full of pressure and urgency, and it was communicating something that wasn't true to our body. I also started to really see how a lot of people consciously or unconsciously worry what others think of them. And before I wrote a book in, 2019, called The Invisible Load, doing focus groups to research some of the concepts I wanted to explore in that. When I sat with the girls aged between 18 and 25, which was the youngest group I looked at, by far and away the two top stresses were body image and social media. And when I share that with older audiences, they can't fathom how social media could be a stress, because they use social media to catch up with their friends overseas, or I watch wombat videos. I think wombats are the most hilarious creatures on the planet. So it's essentially entertainment. And so for the next group, the 35 to 55-year-olds, it wasn't the top one, but a really common stress was running late. But that doesn't stress everybody out. So that's kind of how you know it's not real. And essentially, when we get stressed about running late, quite often what's underneath that is we're worried what the person on the receiving end of our running late might think of us. And so for the younger group, the social media is a mechanism through which really they're seeking approval, whereas for older groups, it might be entertainment, for example. So what I started to see is that our stress can actually be a mechanism through which we learn about how mechanisms where we're allowing others to judge us. I know when I was growing up, I would have cared about what maybe 10 people thought of me, my parents, my best friend. I played tennis. My German was my favourite subject. My German teacher was amazing. There would have been a boy in that mixture. So, but they were real and genuine people who kind of, looking back, I think, well, they kind of were meant to be in my heart. Whereas now, I think for so many young people, they care what thousands of people think of them, and most of them they've never met. And I think that's another part of why it can be so stressful. So I encourage people there's a little exercise I developed from that kind of work called exploring your forehead words. So I feel like people have these traits written across their forehead that they want other people to see in them. So a great question to ask is, how do I need other people to see me? And write your list. And in 2011, when I wrote Rushing Woman Syndrome, the things that the women said were, I need to be seen as kind, selfless, thoughtful. And so they would run themselves ragged trying to prove to everybody that they were that. Other people say, I need to be seen as competent, hardworking, efficient. And so often we're so determined to make others see that in us. When we get stressed, it's often because we're perceiving that someone is seeing us in the opposite way to those forehead words. And so with that kind of insight, it changes the stress we create for ourselves, and it often fosters a much deeper conversation. You can go to your boss and say, hey, I'm so sorry I was running late for that meeting. A whole world of chaos broke out at home this morning. I do my best to never let that interfere with work, but please know it's not because I don't value my job or care. They're going to think you're a gem for expressing yourself and being so vulnerable. And also for the rest of a day like that, you won't feel like you've got to prove yourself. You'll just conduct yourself as your usual competent, hardworking self. So, yeah, I try to dive deep into stuff.
What stresses you out?
My parents' health and happiness. That's a big one for me as an only child. They're really beautiful human beings. I feel very, very fortunate that, they raised me in their simple, kind way. They're very kind people. So, yeah, they're elderly now, and, supporting them is really important to me. So if they're not quite right, that probably gets under my skin a little bit, and I feel like I want to do more. Yeah, the sense of responsibility as that only child is very strong for me. And that
it's a privilege but a burden.
Yeah, as I was going to say, it has drawbacks and benefits, that sense of responsibility. And but yeah, I'm really, really fortunate that they're still around.
Yeah. Yeah, you and I have got some fun adventures coming up, because I'm 52. Both my parents are still alive, and I know it's only a matter of time. Like, it's a privileged position to be in, right? To be in our 50s and have both parents still alive.
Exactly.
A lot of people aren't so lucky, but we know there's some gritty stuff coming up for both of us.
Yeah. And in saying that, none of us ever know when our time is up, not to be morbid.
No, true.
It's we can never predict how things are going to unfold. And I think it's so great to have awareness of that, and I think it makes us appreciate being here so much more.
Yeah, what's your relationship like with social media? Just looping back to that, because you're middle-aged, but you've got a massive social media following. You're very active on social media. Does that stress you out or get under your skin at all?
No, it's not. I love connecting in person like this. This is an absolute joy. And then if this is then going to benefit others, then I like to share that sort of content. I'm not someone who's ever going to take a photo of my breakfast and go, here's what I'm having. That's
Fruit Loops again.
It's so I see it as, I try to use it as an educational platform or offer some sort of something that might value or benefit someone. So, yeah, and I have help with it as well. So I have a younger person in my team who is, it is her vibe. So she's really wonderfully supportive with it.
You need a younger person in your team that understands the algorithms and the hashtags. But so you never get bothered or stressed by if there's a situation where people are coming at you in the comments, or?
Well, I do my best to. No, yeah, I do. It definitely can. That absolutely can get under my skin. Yes, and I just try to though keep it in its place and respond. Yeah, using I guess the intention with whatever was behind what I've shared. so I just try to respond with an understanding from where they're coming from, but also considering where I'm coming from. So but it can get to me, but it doesn't last. I try and put it in its box and go, it just is what it is.
Yeah, it's good to be able to compartmentalise it, but it's hard because I think as human beings, there is this instinct that we just want to be liked by people, and then when you open yourself up to a massive audience, like you've got 150,000 followers or something, it's not possible that everyone's going to like you all the time.
No, that's right. But I think then but not requiring that, I think, is one of the keys, isn't it? And that's not always easy, but it's where something like the night sky puts things in perspective, because you go, it's all okay. You've
got so much gratitude, eh? I can tell you're grateful for everything. Yeah. Do you ever, even when you do all the right things and everything you could be to make sure your body's functioning as well as what it could, do you ever wake up some mornings and just feel like shit?
No.
Or feel a little bit off? No.
Oh, I definitely feel. I don't always feel bouncy, but but mostly I feel bouncy. Yeah. And if I don't, I see it as feedback. I see it as information. I very much believe our body is our absolute best friend, and it is always communicating with us. And sometimes I feel like we have obviously an inner voice, I think, that has our back, that knows when to have lunch, when to stop sitting at a computer, when to go for a walk or a run. And there's that voice that is inside you looking after you, and we just don't always tune into it. And I think after a while of ignoring it, it taps you on the shoulder and says, come on, and it does that through symptoms to try to wake us up, to get us to take a different tack with how we eat or drink or move or think or breathe or believe or perceive. So it's always offering us feedback. So I see it as that when I don't feel quite right. Like, what do I need to adjust? And quite often it's related to something I'm worried about. A little worrier.
Are you?
Can be.
Yeah. Well, is that a form of stress?
It's very quiet. It's funny how I perceive stress. It's more like stress for me feels more intense and short-lived. The little silent worry is more, it's kind of deeper and reflects more of what is actually really, really important to me. Yeah, so it's funny, I wouldn't even call that stress. Yeah, right. It probably is, but it's more just showing me what I care about and something I need to adjust.
So the diet side of thing with Dr. Libby is locked down. What about exercise? What's your sort of exercise routine?
So it's a little bit off right now, actually. I have a little phrase. I have a vegetable garden, and when it's really healthy, it means I have really great work-life balance. And when my vegetable garden's a bit overgrown and needs weeding, I'm usually working a lot. And the vegetable garden and exercise is something that is not as big a feature when work ramps up. I prioritise it less, if I'm honest. So it can just be, something like Pilates or walking. I've let my weights go, and I'll get back to that because I really, really love it. I feel fantastic doing that. But I walked here this morning. I love using my body for that and for gardening as well, to be honest. But that's fallen away a little bit.
Well, it's got to be so hard for you. So, as I said, we're recording this at 7:30 in the morning. After this, you're going to the airport, you get a flight to Invercargill, you're speaking down there. It's full noise. It's hard to prioritise exercise with a schedule like that. Yeah,
and it's why. So, and I will though again. When they're and it sounds like I'm making excuses, probably am.
No.
But it's it's why I try and incorporate it. So instead of getting an Uber here this morning, I walked. So I just try to bring it into how I operate on a daily basis. Yeah,
worth noting as well, carry-on luggage, and also it's a reasonably steep incline to the PodLab studio from the city.
You're generous.
So, no, good for you. Can we talk about your relationship? Because there's a lot of curiosity about, or rather your ex relationship.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of articles about this and a lot of curiosity about this. So you married a Kiwi guy called Chris.
Yeah.
You married when?
2008.
2008. Yeah. What was the meet cute?
He's a really beautiful human being with great energy and shared a lot of ideas with me right from the get-go about how he heard me speak and said it would be really great if you crafted this into a book, and here's how I can imagine you could do that. So, yeah, he was very inspiring to me in the way that he could see that and that was possible, and then it came to be, and he helped me do all of that and create all of that. So yeah, he was a real visionary and made all of that possible.
Oh, so he sort of set you on the book path journey.
I had said to him that I always wanted to write one, but he really encouraged it and, could see how it could all be structured and, it was a really key part in the creation of particularly that first one. Well, all of them we set up. He's a person who has an attitude of, well, how hard can it be? So when I wrote that, the first one, he said, well, we'll just set up our own publishing company. How hard can it be? And he is really good at connecting with people. So he made some really great connections early on in the book trade, and people were incredibly generous right from the start about stocking my books. So he really set all of that up right at the start and continued to do so.
As lovers, it didn't work out. And in 2016, you shared a post on Instagram. I've got part of that here. As someone who is by nature an introvert and energised by solitude, it is with sadness that I let you know that in September this year, I shared with my husband Chris that I wanted to honour my introverted nature and that I wanted to end our marriage. Just on that, do you think that comes from being an only child? Like that introverted sort of side, or that craving of having your own company?
Probably, but it's also being quiet and going inside is where I feel like I solve a lot of things and get a lot of insight. Being by myself is incredibly energizing, and I need that to do work in the world essentially. So it's part of how I like to live, and that all unfolded, and it was a really gracious, gentle split, and we're still great mates today. So
I'm probably much the same. I think I'm probably like an extroverted introvert, and that I can force myself to do some like keynote speeches and things, but I'm also quite happy just to be at home in my own thoughts. And a lot of people, that's their worst nightmare, right?
That's right. No, I love it. It's nice that you do too.
Yeah. I think there's no one wants to be lonely, but there's a difference between being alone and being happy with it and being lonely, I think.
Very much. Yeah. I don't think I've ever felt lonely in my life. And I'm sure journaling was part of that. It was sort of how I worked things out. So really appreciate the time by myself.
Was that a tough conversation to have at the time? How long leading up to that had you had those thoughts that I need to be on my own?
No, not very long at all. And then opened the conversation up, and he graciously received it. Was incredibly generous with the way we let that go.
And I was going to say this is quite unusual, but it's the same for me and my ex. You're still a very big presence in each other's life, and you still have a great relationship, and you're still good friends, which a lot of people find odd.
Yeah, some people do find it odd, but yes, that's true for us as well. And I think he's a really good person, so why would I not want him in my life? And he's the same, so we still have a laugh. Yeah,
was it tough for him at the time?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And but as I said, he was just so gracious in the way he let it go.
What about you personally? Like, do you believe in the one? Do you think there's a person out there, or are you quite happy just to go through life on your own?
I have a beautiful boyfriend.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I
do.
Congratulations. Yes. So he's a gem and he's a joy, and another fellow introvert, and we have loads in common. And it's the absolute joy of my life to share my world with him.
How does that work with two introverts?
Well, you really understand each other, so you understand that when you just kind of get the vibe that there's some downtime needed, and no one takes it personally. It is what it is. And but we have a great time together.
So you live together, or you run separate households, or?
No, we live together.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, yep. So I'm away a lot.
Yeah.
So he gets his quiet time.
You coexist. Yeah.
No, it's beautiful.
Oh, that's cool. This might be too much of a personal question. If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. But did you ever want to have kids, or you chose not to have kids, or
no? It's fine to ask. Thank you for being so careful in how you ask that. It's not what I wanted. It's not ever what I wanted. I remember sitting around at high school with my girlfriends, and they're all announcing, "Oh, I'm going to have my first child when I'm 26 or whatever it was." And I really clearly remember saying, "I don't think I'll ever have them." And couldn't explain really why, but I've never ever had that drive. And I can remember when I was doing my PhD, one of my professors was in biological sciences, and he said, "You just wait till you're 30. It'll all wake up, and you won't, it'll be what you want." And that never ever happened. So it was just nothing that I felt sort of called to do. So I have beautiful godchildren, and my friends have gorgeous kids, so they're in my world, and I feel lucky to know them.
Yeah, I suppose in a way your career's like children in a way. Keeps you busy. I really wanted to have kids, and just through various reasons just couldn't end up having it. And it's an interesting situation, like you can choose not to have kids, and that's fine, but if that choice was something you thought the second half of your life would look like is taken away from you, it's really weird. It's a strange thing to face.
Yes.
'Cause suddenly you have this vision of how the second half of your life would look
Yes.
with kids, and then maybe eventually grandkids, and then when that's not there anymore, you do have to reframe everything.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And is that comfy for you? Or is it something that you're still sort of exploring yourself and getting comfy with it?
Well, you just have to deal with it, really, don't you, and move on, and accept that there's pros and cons from both. Like
Yes.
it allows me to have like a very selfish lifestyle, and it's because the choice was taken away from me, so it's sort of like a guilt-free.
Yes.
But
yeah,
it's tough though.
Yeah. I think to recognise the benefits and drawbacks and see them both equally, I think that sometimes helps to soften it in our hearts when there's a little ache there. Hey.
100%. You've got to find that silver lining, and the sooner the better.
It's sort of like there's the thing that happens. The kids do this really well. So there's a thing that happens, and then sometimes we make a story about the thing that happens, and usually we just take the story forward. And I encourage people to take the wisdom from the story and take the wisdom forward, and that all takes time. And it's why when we have, feelings that can be really uncomfortable from regret or sadness or whatever it is, instead of just letting that kind of, it's good and healthy to sit with those feelings, but instead of letting them take away from our quality of life, I think it's, as you say, draw the wisdom from it and let the wisdom, be more of a guide or provide the benefit that it has.
God, you're so wise, aren't you? Like nutrition and science aside, it's. Have you done any therapy or anything over the years, or you just read a lot of books, or?
I've read a lot of books, and I've been through patches where I'll go and talk to a psychologist, or when there's sort of a big topic that comes up that I'm not making any progress with myself. I find that really helpful. I've done that through patches in my life, and until the insight comes that I'm sort of, there's like this little feeling inside where it just drops and you think, yeah, that's it. And I do try to do that by myself, but we can't always. So I think it's great to have a trusted friend we can communicate with really, really openly, no holes barred. I think that's a great privilege in life if we find that person where we can express ourselves so freely. But then there are times when a professional, I think, is really beneficial.
Yeah, it just gives you a different way to sort of look at things or frame things that you may not have thought of yourself. I put off going for years, and it was one of the, I don't know why, I think I was just scared. And then you go there and you realise it's actually nothing to be scary about. It's wonderful.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah.
And it's so
great.
helpful. It's so helpful.
What about that vulnerability piece? Like, have a really good inner circle of friends and people that you can talk to and really let your walls down?
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
My two besties from high school are still in my life, very strong presence. They're the roller skating friends. And my partner, he's a beautiful human who listens amazingly. So, yeah, definitely.
And what's he like? I know, like us New Zealand men, we do find it very difficult. And I understand that, I've read enough Brene Brown now to understand that vulnerability is a superpower. But it's knowing it and still doing it in real life terms, it's, it's a hard thing to get over. But you see your partner, but is he good at...
And he makes things so often it'll then transition into, after this really heartfelt conversation, it'll just become incredibly kind of playful, and it just lightens it after such a, after something really big might be shared. It becomes really playful, and that's just such a gift to me, because I can be really serious and really kind of get bogged down in the detail of something. And so the levity is a welcome introduction in my world.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for being open about that stuff. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you for asking.
Yeah. Hey, I said on Instagram you're coming in, and there's like a bunch of questions all over the spectrum here. So I thought I'd put these to you. Top 3 to 5 things to improve our health.
Golly.
Is that too broad a question?
Well, it really depends on the individual, and it sort of depends on a starting point. So if someone's already eating in a pretty nutritious way, then I probably wouldn't start there. But if someone is living on takeaway food or a lot of junk, then eating more actual food would be game-changing. So for me, there's no such thing as junk food. There's just junk, and then there's food. And as humans, all we've ever eaten for a really long time is food. And the junk is pretty new. And as I said, on the odd occasion, no sweat. But when we're doing it every day, it can take its toll. So top 3 things would be eat food, not junk, sunshine, and I would probably say connection. It's hard to not say movement, because the body benefits so much from moving. But I think, that connection to anything, whether it's a partner, a pet, a faith, nature, whatever it is, I think that connection is really valuable to our health.
It's funny that you said sunshine is one of those things. I feel like the sun gets a bit of a bad rap these days.
Yeah, every cell, this is again why biochemistry spins my tyres, because every cell in the body has a receptor for vitamin D. So to me, that is the classic signal that we need sunshine, because every single cell needs it. The only other thing that every cell has a receptor for is thyroid hormones. So we know that the cells don't work properly without thyroid hormones. So to me, that says vitamin D is so crucial to every cell in the body working. So love sunshine. I think we're coming to understand more too about the benefit of its light for circadian rhythm. So having really good sleep-wake cycles and for our energy across the day.
When was the moment that you realised stress was silently destroying people's health, and what did that teach you?
Love that. So it was when I started working in health retreats. So that was 2004, 5, somewhere there. And that was when when I was able to see what I sort of described earlier, how for someone when they're really safe, physically safe, then actually let's categorise that. There's very real and genuine stress going on in the world. There's very real and genuine stress going on in people's lives. There's also a huge amount of stress we create for ourselves because of how we think, and that's the part we can change. So that's what I'm interested in. So when I'm answering this person's question, when I talk about stress, I'm talking about the stress that comes from how we think and from our perceptions, essentially. So that's when I really, it was around working in those health retreats was when I really got to see the impact of that and the effect on things like sleep, energy, sex hormone ratios. That's when that really came to light. And it's why for such a long time we've just been told to manage stress, and that's not really working out very well for many people. And it's why I tried to dive into it and say, let's address the stress. So let's work out what leads you as an individual to produce stress hormones in the first place, and let's see if we can reduce it. So, for example, I ask people for examples of just give me an example of something in your day that stressed you out. And a common thing I've heard over the last few years is, I'm working from home and a colleague rang me and says, where's that work? I needed it yesterday. And if when I'm speaking to a live audience, if I use that as an example, I then ask the audience, raise your hand if that would stress you out, and about 3/4 of the room put their hand up, 1/4 of the room don't. And so that's how you know that's not an actual stress. That's how you know it's coming from your thinking. So what that shows me is we don't always hear what someone says. We hear what we think they meant. So whether that's from that phone call, the colleague saying, where's that work? I needed it yesterday. We will do it with all sorts of things. So we hear the request for the work, but often what we've also heard is that they think we're lazy or incompetent or inefficient or not a team player. So we perceive disapproval coming from someone. And that is a huge part of what creates so much stress in our lives. And that's why understanding how we think can be a game changer to stress levels. And the goal is not to have none, but it's to stop telling ourselves stories that aren't true and actually address the stress, because our body responds to the information we give it. So if we're thinking thoughts that are creating stress hormones, the body thinks our life's in danger when we are thankfully relatively safe.
And that's why people need to use emojis more, right? A smiley face or a thumbs up at the end of a blunt-sounding email can go a long way.
Absolutely. I really need you to do this. Smile.
You have said the body is always working for us. Can you unpack that?
Yeah, so I feel we have a phrase, we often use the language, oh, that happened to me. And it can feel like that. I get that, especially when it's really, really genuinely big, tricky stuff. And I think I had a health challenge in my early 20s, and I would have said that was very, very challenging and confronting at the time. And I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you had that not happened. So so that's why I switch it to, it's not happening to us, it's happening for us, even when it's really difficult. And so I don't want to sort of just say it's taking the silver lining. It's understanding how, or deeply appreciating, I think, how our life is like a symphony of self-creation that unfolds, guiding us to become more of who we truly are. I feel like our journey is back to authenticity and letting go of expectations or other people's values that have been shared with us that we've absorbed unknowingly. And sometimes, the things that we feel are happening to us are actually for us, guiding us back to become more of who we truly are.
What belief about women's health do you most wish we could unlearn? Is it too hard to just do one?
No, I can pick one.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if this is the one. It's just top of mind right now. Right now, perimenopause is having its moment as a big topic of conversation, and that has drawbacks and benefits. The benefits, of course, are that women are finally being better understood. Women who are suffering are getting a lot more support, and they've needed that for a long time. So there's so much more information out there now for women to get support, and that's brilliant. My worry is that there are many women who go through perimenopause with mild or no suffering, and then other women suffer in a really debilitating way. So we need to make space for all of those. There needs to be conversations about all of that. And the trick right now is that if a woman gets any kind of new symptom and they're between the ages of about 38 and 55, there's a tendency right now in our culture to go, oh, it must be perimenopause. And when we say something's perimenopause, we're saying it must be our changing sex hormones that are driving that, when the new symptom might be coming from iron deficiency or insulin resistance or a thyroid that's not working properly. And when we just blame perimenopause, we often don't investigate what else might be there. And the other challenge, the other problem I see that I wish wasn't occurring is women who are now in their 30s are terrified of perimenopause, and they don't need to be, because, and again, I've done interviews in this area with women going through perimenopause or who are out the other side, and the ones who didn't suffer, when I said, did you talk about that? They said no. And I'd say, why? Well, there's no story to tell. And then other women would say, I don't want women who are suffering to feel bad. I kind of feel guilty because I'm not suffering. But the problem with that is younger women aren't hearing from the ones who aren't suffering. So it was one of the reasons I wrote Fix Iron First, to be honest, because a lot of women go into perimenopause severely iron deficient, and it makes a big difference when you change that. I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all, but it can make a difference for some women. So, yeah, that's a big worry for me with women's health right now.
Yeah, well, that leads us to this next question. If we got all the correct nutrients, would we fly through perimenopause and menopause?
Not necessarily all the right nutrients, but that is the best, most robust foundation you could create for yourself. I do, without doubt, think that thoughts and perceptions and stress essentially can be a disruptor. But when we have great nutritional status, good lymphatic flow from movement, from breathing nice and slowly, as often as we can, rather than short, sharp, shallow chest kind of breaths, that all of that helps as well. So, but nutrition is absolutely the foundation.
What's the biggest wellness scam you see all over social media? Or does it change all the time?
Yeah, it's endlessly changing, isn't it? Someone just took my face and took my voice and tried to sell weight loss gummies. And one of my friend's mothers fell for it. She trusts me, and yeah, so
that AI deepfake thing is alarming, isn't it?
It's really, really concerning, and that was actually how I found out about it. My friend rang and she said, "I don't understand why you're doing this," and I said, "I am not doing that."
You're not doing keto gummies.
No. So yeah, that one it directly affected people who trust me. So that was.
Did that stress you out?
Yeah, it did, and. In the moment it did, and it also does for where all of that can potentially go. It's really concerning, and I don't know what we can do about it. I try to when there's something that bothers me, or I try to find a solution. That's, I guess, probably how I manage my stress, is try and find a solution. And I don't know how we solve that.
Yeah, because I think if I was in that same boat, like my immediate thing would be stressed out, and I'd feel bad for anyone that had been sucked in. And then you pause, take a couple of steps back, and realise the sensible steps you have to go through to try and solve the problem. But the immediate reaction, I think, is like stress and panic.
It is, because people are being affected and they don't deserve to be. And it's your
reputation on the line, and all sorts of other things as well.
Oh, she wasted her money on those gummies. That was my worry.
What is something you'd never put in your body but everyone else still does?
God,
there's numerous things.
Some stuff I probably don't even know about. Gosh. Artificial sweeteners. Yeah, so...
I like my Coke Zero.
Can we still be friends at the end of this, though? Yeah, artificial sweeteners, I would not let them go in the earth suit. And a lot of people are having them like they're going out of fashion. And that's a concern for me.
Like aspartame? Aspartame? Is
Yeah. Yep.
But for my soda fix, I'd be better having a Coke Zero than a full strength Coke, wouldn't I?
So I would just steer you right away from that completely, and it might be too much, but get a soda stream and make fizzy water and then add some flavouring to that, because then you can control the sweetness in it and the other things that are in it.
Some flavour like what, like honey or?
You could do that. There are companies now making additions for those soda streams that have got really low sugar. They've got really considered ingredients, and that can be a really lovely after dinner drink if you want something like that.
What's one wellness trend that secretly drives you absolutely nuts?
A wellness trend. So it's kind of coming full circle now. I wouldn't say it drives me nuts. I was more concerned about it. But when cold plunging first came to be, there are definitely people in the population who can benefit from that. But I was really worried about a lot of the women who I saw as patients were what I would describe as really depleted, with low energy, low iron, and jumping into freezing cold water for someone who's really depleted, that worried me. So sort of that rushing woman who might be in burnout, that was a big worry, that this wellness trend was being sort of displayed as the be-all and end-all for everybody. Because I haven't studied traditional Chinese medicine, but I have learnt a lot from it, and I feel it does offer a lot of wisdom. It's all about warmth. And so I felt these really depleted women needed warmth and nurturing and support for their healing and their wellness. So that was one that I felt the blanket statement of cold plunges were great for everyone. That used to worry me, but that's kind of coming to light way more now, which is great.
When this stuff happens, do you speak your mind, or do you sort of sit there and bite your tongue and let these fads pass?
It's more if people ask a question, then I answer it directly to them. Because I don't ever want to put down something that someone is benefiting from. And so that's why I'm not a fan of blanket statements at all, because I feel that we can be drawn to something in our life for a period of time because it serves us, and then we can realise, it's time to let that go. That's a habit that I've kind of outgrown, or my body is no longer benefiting from. Also, so it's more I answer things directly rather than make the blanket statements.
What's one daily habit most women need to quit to feel better?
Being so mean to themselves. Yeah, so the harsh self-talk can be really brutal. And the judgment we pass on ourselves is usually what leads us to continue to not take care of ourselves. So, for example, if let's say someone eats a packet of chocolate biscuits and a whole packet and they're trying to not do that, they'll usually judge themselves really harshly afterwards. So they'll put a comma in that sentence and say, I ate too many chocolate biscuits, therefore I'm hopeless and pathetic and have no willpower. And that we don't ever, most of what we think is not actually true, but we're not taught that at school, so we don't get to the end of a thought like that and think, is that actually true? We just keep living our life. And a belief is just a thought that we've thought over and over again and never questioned, and our beliefs actually drive our behaviour. So once we've said that to ourselves many times, that we're hopeless and pathetic and have no willpower after we've eaten too many biscuits, eventually that translates into not that you are just because you ate the biscuits, but that you just are that. So we take on these beliefs about ourselves, about who we are or who we must be, having done those things. Whereas if we could bring some more curiosity and think, I ate too many chocolate biscuits, that might be true. But if you then say, I wonder what led me to do that, then information will pop up. I skipped lunch today, so of course I did that at afternoon tea time. My solution is probably to actually eat lunch. Or I ate the biscuits because I came out of a meeting and someone said X, Y, Z, and I can see my feelings were really hurt. Did the biscuits solve that? No. What would solve that? Maybe chatting with them. So it just helps you to pause and, I guess, regroup. So it's the harsh conversations, the judgment we pass on ourselves, usually, yeah.
What about your personal inner voice? What's that like? Are you mostly kind to yourself?
Yes, I would say yes.
Yeah.
It's very... You were lovely before you acknowledged it before. It's mostly one of appreciation.
I just wonder, when someone like you that's super, super high achieving and you've done so much, are you ever sort of in the moment, or are you constantly looking ahead and seeing what's next?
No, I've trained myself to be in the moment at times. I'm regularly ahead, jumping ahead. But nature is brings me, to be really present. My partner's face really brings me to presence. This will sound absolutely nuts, but when I drink a glass of water, I taught myself a long time ago to be present with that. So I imagined sort of swallowing sunshine, and that I taught myself that a long time ago. And so that happens now on autopilot, because I just was so appreciative to have access to clean drinking water, because I'm so aware that so many people in the world still don't. And so I bring myself to presence through little rituals.
So it's sort of like a form of mindfulness every time you drink water.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, great way to say it.
It's really interesting, eh? Because gratitude is something I've got into the last few years. And if you look for 3 things every day that you're thankful for, or whatever, you can boil that down and go for 3 things that you're thankful for every day that don't cost any money.
Yeah.
And that's something that anyone can do, and it just makes you realise how bloody lucky you are.
Absolutely. And to it's the fresh access to fresh drinking water is something that it's just never ever been lost on me. And we had rainwater. We lived in town and had town water when I was growing up, but we had rainwater tanks in the backyard. My dad had gazillions of them all around the place because he tried to water all the vegetables just with the rainwater, and we drank that. And so I've done that for myself again now as an adult. And I don't know, I just get a little thrill from that.
Dr. Libby, you say the body whispers before it screams. What is a whisper that most women ignore until it's too late?
Lousy energy. So what I mean by that is when you feel fatigued day after day, when sleep is not restoring your energy, you want to look at that, because we just write it off to being busy or stressed or maybe not sleeping as well as we could be. But that shift in energy is your first sign of a rabbit hole to go down or get to the heart of it. And I wrote Fix Iron first for that reason. Iron deficiency is the most common nutritional deficiency globally in the world, including in New Zealand, and it's particularly common amongst women across the menstruation years, pregnant women, and unfortunately also in children. And I'm obsessed with iron because I developed an iron supplement. It took me 5 years of research to actually develop Iconic Iron. So that shift in energy can be, if you're iron deficient, get that sorted, because the ripple effect of living with lousy iron is significant. Anxiety is actually a symptom of iron deficiency. Now, I'm not saying for a second that all anxiety is caused by iron deficiency, but you think about teenage girls, they've started to menstruate. A lot of them sadly start to restrict their diets. They can become iron deficient so quickly, and anxiety can then arise, and it might be arising for many, many reasons, but I feel that iron deficiency as a contributor is being hugely overlooked. So your energy, more anxious feelings would be another sign. So instead of just writing things off to stress or being busy or feeling a lot of pressure, having a lot on the to-do list, try to notice what that really is, because when we just say it's stress, we don't really get to the heart of what's leading that to arise. So are the increase in anxious feelings coming from, maybe you are iron deficient? Is it coming from dehydration? Is it coming from because you're worried about a conversation you had that morning? So see if you can identify it rather than just go, oh, I'm just really anxious. Because I feel there's a tendency in our culture right now to medicalise feelings, and that can be beneficial and the right road for some people to go down. But I feel that the other elements of that are being missed. So, energy and more anxious feelings would be the two little watch-outs, I would say, for women. They're little whispers getting you to go deeper.
What's the easiest way to get more iron?
So it's rich in red meat, mussels, eggs, and then our veggie sources, things like lentils, seaweed, parsley. It's in green leafy vegetables. The veggie sources need some vitamin C to help them be absorbed, though.
What's something you do that would surprise your most devoted fans? I think that maybe they're angling for like a bad answer, like you always have the cookie time cookie on the plane, or I don't know.
So what was the question? Does it say bad?
No, it doesn't.
No.
I suppose you can interpret it any way you want, but what's something you do that would surprise your most devoted fans? I just assume it's something decadent. I don't know. You interpret that any way you want. I think there's been a lot of things that would surprise your most devoted fans, like even the thing you said before about imagining water as sunshine when you're drinking it. I thought that was cute.
Maybe they're going for does she eat hot chips or something? And
which we established earlier you do from time to time. Okay, what do you think about Ozempic and the wave of injectable weight loss drugs?
Again, I don't ever want to put something down that someone's really benefited from. Yeah. My worry is the way that they're being used. So the GLP-1 receptors respond really, really well to bitterness. So we've known that for a really long time, and bitterness is actually almost moved out of our food supply. So our green leafy vegetables are bitter, but they're way less bitter than they used to be. And when we consume bitter foods, it actually stimulates those GLP-1 receptors that those medications are working on. And I guess the concern is the muscle wastage. The concern is people going onto them and staying on them for a really long time. The concern is the nutrient deficiencies that can arise because your appetite's so suppressed, you're just literally not eating enough food to meet your nutritional requirements. It also doesn't get to, if someone is unhealthy, as in their health is being affected by how much body fat their structure is carrying, then I understand why someone would want to go there, absolutely. I don't know if it's going to help the person get to the heart of what led them to treat themselves like that in the first place, that created, a lack of health from carrying, way too much body fat, for example. So I don't mind about the size. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the effect on someone's health from, significant excesses of body fat. So I don't know if it helps someone get to the heart of that. So, but essentially, in a physical way, I worry about its overuse, people staying on it too long, and the muscle wastage and the nutrient deficiencies that can happen.
What's the biggest myth women are still believing about their bodies?
That they need, so the calorie equation was something that was really hammered into me in my education, and I think there are a lot of women around my age and older who still feel like they've got to burn off what they consume, and that's I think that can be a really destructive kind of mindset. There's no nurturing in that, there's no caring, there's no appreciation, it's just kind of this deprivation mindset.
Calories in, calories out.
Yeah, and that eating like a bird because they think that's the only way to maintain the structure that they're trying to maintain. Yeah, I worry about the harshness of that, I guess, and the deprivation that comes with that.
You've spent your life helping others heal. Who helped you heal?
Anyone in my life. I think we foster relationships with people who so generously offer us all sorts of things. It can just be, a lighthearted conversation over a dinner party, and then someone will drop a statement and you think, oh, that really resonates, and it's not like a planned conversation that you've sat down to have. It's that, just people are so generous in what they share, and I really trust the coming together of people in friendships, as acquaintances, just in a general conversation like this. I'll reflect on this after I go away and, think about some of the things you said. You have very soft eyes. So as, communicating with you, because your eyes are so soft, it softens me and I feel so comfortable and so open. And so that's an exchange that, none of us can predict but I'll carry that through my day. And your generosity in the questions you've asked and how respectfully you've asked them, your interest in even wanting to have this conversation is very touching, and it surprises me. And it's such a gift. So the healing comes, I guess, in everyday interactions, in big ways and small ways, planned and unplanned.
Thanks for that. That really gassed me up. I'll be thinking about this. I do this thing after a podcast. I'll be thinking about this all day, and I'll think about things that I wish I asked and that I should have asked or that I should have done. You don't do that, because I've thrown a lot of questions at you, and you haven't pre-read any of these from Instagram, and I'm putting you on the spot. So when you're on the flight to Invercargill, will you be thinking, shit, I should have said that, or I should have said this, or no? You don't?
No, I trust the process. I love sharing stories. If people, your questions have been delightful. But no, I don't sort of reflect on that. I trust the process. I might sit there and think, I should have told the iron story better, because it's sort of my mission right now is to talk about fix iron first, and helping, sort of inspiring people to really find out if they're iron deficient and correct that if possible. Iconic Iron is the supplement I've made, is made from organic peas, and it contains ferritin iron, which has its own unique absorption mechanism. So there it is, I've said it now, but that'd be some of the things I'd probably sit on the plane and think I should have talked about. BioBlend's Iconic Iron.
This has been a very broad chat about Dr. Libby, not with a strict focus on iron, which is your thing at the moment. It's like the new book, and I've listened to so many podcasts over the past week that you've been on, and it's been the focus on the iron stuff. But so let's get into that now. What is the big takeaway you'd want people to know about iron? Why should they get your new book?
So the tagline so it's called Fix Iron First, the one thing that changes everything. And I encourage, if someone finds out that they are deficient or depleted, act on that, because if you correct your iron levels, you can then see what's left over. Because I think right now we're attributing and blaming symptoms that we're experiencing, or health challenges we're experiencing, on other things when a lot of people are just living with iron deficiency and not dealing with it, whether that's, one of the symptoms in children is fussy eating and irritability. So it would change the parent's world and the child's world if that was corrected. So understanding the wide implications of iron deficiency and, treat that, and then let's see what's left over.
And buy the book. Get the book.
If the topic appeals.
Yeah. When do you feel most at peace with yourself, and when do you feel furthest from it?
Good question.
You must be quite a homebody, being an introvert?
Big homebody. Love nothing better than being at home. Love, the quiet in nature, looking at the sky, looking at the trees, watching light change. Love watching light change. That'd be probably, I'd dance off in the kitchen with my partner. That feel like myself doing that. Roller skating, totally feel like myself doing that. Furthest from myself, don't know if I feel like that anymore these days.
Wow. Oh, what a great space to be playing in. And the dance off in the kitchen, what are we dancing to?
Oh, anything. He's the CEO. He's the curator of the music.
Have you ever had an unhealthy habit that you struggled to break, and what helped you shift it?
Yes. In my teenage years, I chewed extra chewing gum like it was going out of fashion. And
is that all right?
It's got artificial sweeteners in it, so no, not a fan. Do you have that too?
Oh, yeah, I do.
I know.
I have that one of the plastic container with 50 bits in the car at all times.
So that was a habit I was really determined to break. And, it took me a while, but, did it.
You are so in tune with your body. Like if you had the diet I have for one day, you'd probably feel like absolute arse, right? You'd feel terrible. And but no, this has made me aware of this morning. This conversation we've had. It's like I think I feel pretty good most of the time, but the reality is, my body's just been used to being treated poorly, I guess. And I say poorly in commas because I think I do a lot of right things, but I also do a lot of wrong things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But again, let your body give you the feedback. So if you feel really good, then that's feedback that it's all okay. It's but maybe a few less of those fizzy drinks at night.
Is there a motto or quote that you try and live your life by?
Oh, that's a bit gorgeous. Follow the threads. So,
what does that mean?
Yeah, so I don't pursue things. I don't sort of dream things up and then go, right, I'm chasing that. An idea might come or someone might say something to me, and then it's almost like a yes-no button on the inside. Do I follow that? And I've learned, I don't always do, I'm not always exactly true to this, but I do my absolute best to really go with the yes and the no. So when I say follow the thread, it's to follow the yes, even if it doesn't really make sense to me and at the time. And like an idea pops into your head or someone says, would you like to do blah, blah? Yeah, I try to really trust that yes, no button.
So it's intuition in a way.
I guess, yeah.
What are your best and worst habits?
I just don't look at the world like that. No, I don't.
That's a great answer. It's a non-answer, but it's a great answer as well, because I know you're being authentic and honest about it.
Yeah, it's sort of, I don't see worst. I understand the question, but I don't see the worst as the worst. The worst plays a role. The worst, I've created the worst, if we want to label it that. There's information in it. It's all information, and it's what I do with it. So that worst is if it is indeed the worst, that's prompting me to see why I'm choosing that. Is it a part of myself that I'm being really mean about, or what's leading to that worst kind of habit? So it's not. I just don't see it like that. It's just not my world.
What a great way to live your life. When was the last time you cried?
With you this morning. I was really misty-eyed before when you said nice things. Yeah, so this morning.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, I cry very easy. I'm I can't hide how I feel because my eyes get wet with truth, with authenticity, with honesty, with appreciation. Yeah, it's not quite a daily occurrence, but happens pretty often. Not a big blubbering cry,
No.
but one of the last big blubbering cry, actually, don't know if I can recall it, to be honest. They're there, but the misty eyes are pretty often.
Geez, you must cry most days when you do a speech, like a speech. Like you're off to Invercargill after this. I'm imagining afterwards there's a line of women that want to speak to you about the impact you've had on their life, and just the value you've added to it. It must be a daily occurrence. You're doing these speeches and then crying afterwards, with just seeing in real terms the impact you're having on people.
So what affects me is the shift for them. So I honestly don't think about myself in that moment. It's almost like this will sound nuts, but it's almost like there's no conscious thought. It's just an offering of information that someone might take a little piece from and think, oh yeah, I'm going to go to bed earlier, or I'm going to drink more water, or I'm going to eat more green vegetables, or
Less Coke Zero.
I'm going to get my iron levels checked, whatever it is, but something has arisen that they've then acted on. And people say things to me like, you changed my life. And I say, I did not. You just heard some information and you acted on it. It's all on you. And that the truth of that, so I get goosebumps when I say that, because it's the truth. It's not me, it's them. It's just, lots of people hear all sorts of information that might benefit them and they don't necessarily act on it. So, but yeah, that's very moving when, there's been a big shift for someone and they share it.
Are you proud of yourself?
I don't think like that either. I'm very content with myself. Yeah, I like who I am and I feel really fortunate to like who I am. And that doesn't mean that there's not things that I don't want to change, but I'm comfy with that as well. The bits that, I like who I am. I appreciate who I am. I honestly just feel so lucky to be here.
This has been wonderful.
Oh, thank you. For me as well.
First time we've met, and
Yeah, it is.
it's been a really, really good chat. Real insightful. Lots of takeaways in there. Every time I go to the fridge for a Coke Zero, I'm going to think of you.
But without guilt, you just relish it. If that's what you want to drink, you just go, how good's this? I love the taste of this. This spins my tyres.
Yeah. Hey, this has been a lot of fun.
You're a beautiful human. Thank you.
Last one. Like goals for the future. Where do you see yourself at, 60, 65? Just keep writing books?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. I can't imagine. I have no desire to stop. I feel it doesn't really feel like work. It feels like play. So maybe when it feels like work, I'll stop. I don't know. Whatever things arise that I feel might offer someone something, I'll keep doing it. So yeah, I'm not a good planner. Terrible at planning.
14 books. I don't know. I'd argue with that one. We could debate that. Hey, Dr. Libby, this has been so great. Thank you so much. You're a national treasure, and it's wonderful to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for all of your kindness and generosity, Dom. It's been a joy to be here with you. Thank you.